the fuck just said that? Which big mouth ass nigga just said that, bro?
Man,
Bro, I
shut
ain't
your
even say
Jamaican
nothing. I've been mute the
Rastafari
whole
ass
time. What
up,
you talking about?
Hard ass fucking breath saying
man,
that
nigga.
shit, bro.
Hey, listen, don't talk about hot ass breath, bro. You're broke, bro. Please.
What'd you just say?
Respect.
I can barely understand your fucking
Bro,
fat
you
ass,
sound
bro.
like you like a 38-year-old uncle, bro. And
Yo,
you
you
only
said you're
18.
38.
Yeah, I'm back, retard.
Wait, hold
You
on.
Check
young as
chat
hell and
onto
you
the
sound
scans
old as shit.
channel.
Wait, no, this
The
nigga's
minute
retarded.
Wait,
No,
who's
this
is
that?
nigga, no,
Wait,
no,
what are
no.
you talking
42
Wait,
about?
seconds. Some fuck.
Wait, no, Apollo, you're wrong as fuck. He, fucking Itachi was just with Sasuke. He knows where the fuck Sasuke is. I'll show you that.
Are you stupid? That doesn't attack the actual points we're talking about here. You're saying
Yes, it
specifically that it was
does. It
Itachi
shows he
asking,
knows
you're
where
being
he's
retarded
at.
again, and now you're interrupting because you're getting blown the fuck out right now. The point you're talking about here is specifically you saying that it is the ha ha he laughs. No one is going to rip the parts right now. Now I'm telling you that the claim you made is that it is the case that Itachi actually was the
Itachi ass,
person who was
right?
not asking the question. Now we have confirmation from Infinity, who's the moderator, plus the anime which demonstrates that it was not actually Naruto who was asking the question, but it was Itachi. Dumb, you're retarded.
No,
Naruto
he was just
responded
with
by
him.
saying
Wait,
that specific thing.
send the timestamp, send the timestamp.
I just told you the times to be dumb retard. It was 42 seconds, but you weren't listening.
For,
Listen closely.
for what?
42 seconds, idiot.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
let me make sure
okay,
I'm not
so we
tripping.
just gonna mute that nigga.
That's a timestamp.
Yo,
He's just not even tracking
Wait,
what's
bro.
going on. And even if you read the freaking scan, you can clearly tell it's not Itachi, or sorry, it's not Naruto asking the
Wait,
question.
hold on. I'm like listening to
Basic
the thing.
context clues, you
I
illiterate
can't respond.
scumbag. You can't multitask, you can't cognitive and multitask, you dumb fuck.
but this the big high tier as fuck, bro.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting smarter every second.
42
Mm.
seconds, yes. Lock it. Yeah, you're wrong. Now moving on. Can we move on now? Thank you.
Wait, hold on. Give me one sec. I'm just confirming it. Maybe you're right, but I want to make sure.
Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm right. Anyone who's not illiterate can clearly tell me obviously correct on the proposition card. Read the fucking
Ooh.
scan. Why would Naruto ask what happened to Sasuke, then respond to his own question by saying
Anyway,
he's
bitch.
attacking
Hold on. Let me
Konoha?
read
That's
shit.
retarded. Context clues, dumbass.
Wait, which one did Geass think it was on?
Mind you, these are the topics he does, by the way, not me. I quit this shit like a good ass while ago, dude. What Ernby,
Wait,
if you
which one?
just look at the freaking scan, if you can fucking read, it's very obvious. Even without checking the anime, it's not Naruto talking. Why would Naruto say, "Where's Sasuke?" Then respond to his own question by saying he's taking revenge on Konoha. He's in the castle. That's stupid.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this nigga blind, bro.
Just concede the point, Yas. Infinity has already confirmed what I'm talking about. Everyone in the beast can confirm that it is Itachi talking, not Naruto. Context clues also confirms my point, and not to mention the anime confirms my proposition. We can
Yeah.
just concede the point and move on to the actual argument here. Stop wasting your time. Thank you.
Okay, cool. I was gonna show something anyway. So
Wait, so
do
you can see
you?
this point, right?
No.
You
Ooh.
don't know if you can see the point?
Oh.
I said the timestamp of the anime confirming the claim.
Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah.
Wait,
So
wait, hold
here,
on. Before we
look
move
at
on to a
this
different
scan.
point, you can see this point.
No, no. I still have the overarching point.
Wait, hold on, wait, hold on. The point, no. That's not the flex, right? The point you're on right now is whether or not it is the case that Naruto is the one asking the question or not. Now, do you
Yeah,
concede it is not
I'm not
Naruto
clear
asking
on
this
that one.
question?
Yeah, I'm not clear on that one.
You're not
Hold up.
clear on this? The timestamp says it. Timestamp 42 seconds. I can stream it right now on the voice called dumb fuck. It's going to be dishonest.
It says something
Timestamp 42
different.
seconds. It was Itachi talking. He asked, what happened to Sasuke right now?
Yeah, that's
Retard.
different than the scan I sent.
It's not different,
No,
retard,
it
because in
is.
both
It is.
instances, it includes the same exchange of blows. What are you talking
No,
about?
it's different in the context. So the scan actually
How is it
says,
different to the
"Where
context if
is?"
we're
Yeah,
literally saying
if
that
you
in
stop, yeah, yeah,
the
wait,
anime
if you
case
let me,
scenario,
wait,
you're
bro,
being
bro,
not
wait,
just going to be
Infinity, he's just
dishonest as
not
fuck.
letting me answer his own questions. He's
You're being
asking me
dishonest.
questions
You're
that
being
I can't even answer
autistic.
them.
You can't read scans and you're being
Yeah,
religious
wait,
and
no,
stuff
no,
right
no.
now.
Turbo talking to yourself doesn't make the position correct. Just talk more. Anyway, what
Oh.
he actually says is, "Where is Sasuke?" In the scan you sent, it said, "What happened to Sasuke?" I don't know if that's the same thing, but I do want to give a secondary point that help point to the idea that Naruto is still interested in learning about what's going on.
You understand if I say what's happened to someone right now that could be indexed to what they're doing dependent on their location, you dumb fuck? So for example, if I say, for instance, what
He didn't ask
happened
that.
to your mom, for example, and look at the guy who was crying about interruptions. If I say what's happened to your mom, for example, and you say, for example, your mom is at the party or your mom was at the party last night or something like that, that would still be answering my question because it gives me an idea of what was happening to your mom. So location-based answers to that question would be something which would still be contextually identical to what was even stated in the anime, you fucking retard. So again, you're not pointing out any contextual distinction, but if anything, it's just pointing out that the manga or the anime is more specific insofar as what the actual point actually is, but it's not pointing out any demarcation or any distinction given the context. So you're not proving anything and disproving anything either. It's still identically retard. You're not incompatible.
Yeah, anyway, in
Oh,
English,
okay.
the word where simply means location data, right? When you say what happened to someone, that's totally different. It's not just asking for some longitude of where someone's at, okay? So it is different and it does have different semantics. Just saying, well, where someone is means what they're doing. It just isn't, that's not consistent with any English usage. But let me get to the major point, though. I had something more important.
Well, I'm going to address that point first before we move on to a different point.
Oh
So
my
just to
God.
address that point in particular, so for example, I'll give you like a case scenario because it's for obviously like really retarded, right? So if I say, for example, that infinity is somewhere, and I say infinity is at its house, on the basis of the semantics of what somewhere means, in contrast with what the word house means, they have different definitions. However, it is the case that one specific response is more specific than the other one. It's actually just me talking about the same thing there. It's just the case that the response when I'm saying that infinity is at his house is just a more specific answer than me just saying infinity is somewhere, right? Even though they're definitional difference in so far as the definition actually is, they're still talking about the same fucking thing in context, right? So
No, no.
you have more specific responses. Yes, actually, dumb fuck retard, right? That's how English actually works, right? You have more specific responses. There's a thing called the clarification. So yeah, it's pretty obvious. So if I say infinity is somewhere and I say infinity is at his house, more than likely just talking about the same fucking thing. However, on the face value of the semantics of what somewhere means in contrast to what house means, there is a subtle distinction, but that doesn't automatically mean that the context is not pointing towards the same fucking thing. It's still about the same fucking thing. The same thing applies here, right? If I'm talking what's happening with respect to someone, and I'm saying this person is somewhere, they could be talking about the same fucking thing, irrespective of any slight distinction semantically, given the
No,
context.
no. Where? No, for my English speakers, where simply
Okay.
dictates some some specific space location. That's not a difference in level of specification. What happened to someone is an event. Event is not a location. Okay, those are two different things in this language called English. Okay, they're
Which you
different
don't
semantics.
understand
They're not.
properly.
I was
They're
looking
not.
stuff.
No, please stop. You will not pass an English test. In any usage of location data, what happened to someone is not going to be answered by giving location. That's not what that means. That's poor semantics. I don't really care too much about this point because I have another point that simply demonstrates what I'm trying to prove, which is Naruto's interest in questioning Itachi. So can I give that scan?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. If you
You're
look at
actually
the, if
so
you look,
retarded. It's actually really embarrassing. Let's address that point first. You
oh
don't.
my god.
First and foremost, people can make. No, you're not gonna run away. Let's mute Geass right now. It's my turn to speak to respond to his dumbass argument. So just to make a couple of points clear on the table, right? So first and foremost, we can make inferences based
Mhm.
off location, you dumbass. So for example, if I say to someone, or rather, if let's say Infinity asked me, "Oh, Apollo, where was Geass yesterday?" and I say, "Oh, Geass was at the club last night." All right, or sorry, if I say, like, let's just restart this everything. If Infinity asked me, sorry, what happened to Geass last night? And my response to him was specifically saying that Geass was at the club last night. You can make inferences on the basis of location-based responses as regards what you were doing last night, Stumpfuck. So in the case of what you're talking about here with respect to Itachi and Naruto and Sasuke respectively, Itachi asked specifically, he wants to know what Sasuke is doing right now, what is happening with Sasuke, and Naruto was to tell him that Sasuke is around the Akatsuki, or he's at the Akatsuki headquarters, or something along the lines like that. Even those types of responses could still clarify and give him an idea of what Sasuke is doing right now, given the association in the place he's actually at. So just because location at face value is different from occurrences or what is directly happening given the state of affairs does not automatically mean they're unrelated to the dumb fuck. Of course it is the case they can make a deduction on the basis of where someone is at to make a claim on what they're doing. That happens all the time in English language conversations, you dumb fucking retard. But too bad you're illiterate and you're undereducated, so you're unable to actually track this very basic fact. So I'm going to ask you one more time. How is it going to be the case that given what you've stated, it actually demonstrated that these two specific things are unrelated?
Yeah, anyway, I never argued, and you're not tracking, that these two things are unrelated in any sense. I simply said they're different semantics. Their meanings, which is a location data, isn't going to tell you what happened to someone. I agree you can possibly make inferences based on someone's past location that doesn't answer the question. That's why they're different semantics. They can only be answered by two different answers. No matter what, if you tell me where someone went, it doesn't tell me what happened to them. This isn't a point. Can we move to the actual scan where I demonstrate clearly the point I'm making with this
Look,
random philo arguments?
I got a bedtime, bro. I'm gonna have to get a different mod,
Yeah,
man.
this
Good night.
is
I'll be
not
mod, guys.
conducive. Can
This
we
is just
please go to the
embarrassing,
point?
dude. What the fuck? Holy shit, Geass, dude. I expected better. What the fuck, dude?
I would say I did, but yeah. Anyway, um,
Ooh.
let's get to it. The actual scan that I'm trying to argue about, he literally says, "Hey, I got stuff to ask you too." Well, excuse me. Itachi says first, "Naruto, I must ask," and then Naruto responds, "Hey, I ha stuff to ask you too," which means he is effectively asking about what's going on with Sasuke. So I can show you their dialogue in the page before, where
So,
they're
so
having a full
asking, so
fledged.
saying I
Wait, let
got
me
stuff to
finish.
ask
What?
you
No,
indicates
no,
that
let me
you're
finish. Let
asking
me
for
finish.
something right
Wait,
now.
no. Let me finish. Let me finish. So I can show you clearly. They had a full length
What the fuck, dude?
conversation about Sasuke, and so Sasuke is the thing he's trying to get this kind of new information on.
Are you done
Oh,
now? Got you. So I'm going to respond to the first point, and then there's just the
yeah,
other
yeah.
dumb fucking point made afterwards. As regards to the first point, you're saying telling someone where someone is does not tell them what they're doing. That's retarded. They can make inferences based on what someone is doing on the basis of where they're at right now. So, for example, like here's like an obvious fucking example, right? So, if let's say, for instance, I don't know, your fucking girlfriend was to tell you that she's at her ex house or something when you called her, right? And you're in her ex's bedroom. You can clearly tell based off that what the fuck she's doing, right? You can tell based off locations where she's at, given that specific information, what the fuck she's doing. This happens all the fucking time. You don't have to directly say what is happening for it to make a judgment on the basis of their location. This happens all the fucking time. So for you to tell me that they're unrelated is relevant, and you're saying, "Oh, I'm not making the argument they're unrelated." Well, if you're not making the argument that they're unrelated, then your point falls apart. Because for you to say here that the context are not about the same thing, you'd have to be making the claim they're unrelated, you dumbass, because if they were to be related, more than likely they're about the same fucking thing, you idiot. Remember, you're supposed to be given an argument as to what the anime context and the manga context are different to demonstrate the proposition that Itachi was not actually talking about or Itachi was not the person, or Itachi was the person who was asking the question or not. For you to demonstrate what proposition with respect to that specific topic is sure, you'd also have to be talking specifically about the context being unrelated. So you have to be making this claim for the point to even succeed here. That's just another point I need to mention here. So I've given an example of you giving inferences, or you making judgments, or you knowing about what's happening on the basis of the location solely in isolation. This happens all the fucking time, but you're too retarded to understand this. The other point is you saying, Naruto said, I got questions to ask you, so that means he's trying to gain information to retrieve. That's irrelevant to what we're talking about. So we're talking about whether or not it was Sasuke, or sorry, whether or not it was Itachi who was asking the question, or it was Naruto. We've demonstrated via testimonies from more than one people in this voice call who looked at the scan, who looked at the bubble, that it was pointed towards Itachi and not Naruto, and we also the anime confirming the same specific proposition with respects to the specific time frame in which this event occurred
Damn.
in the actual anime. So you're fucked at this point from the testimony evidence level from the analogies I've given in the conversation, and most importantly, the basic fucking education lesson I'll give you on fucking English and how it works, and how you can actually make inferences on the basis of location to make a judgment on what is actually happening at the said moment right now. That's a retarded fucking point. Just concede this point and move on to a different argument.
Okay, after the 30-minute monologue, I'll try and respond. So there is a very
Oh wait, Geass is
clear
talking about
indication
monologue.
that there's a very clear indication that he is actually asking about Sasuke. So in the panel I sent, and I think I responded to the previous point. It's not really relevant um, to say that it's there's some potential relation between the two different statements. I'm simply saying they're different semantics. And so showing me the anime clip isn't the same as showing the manga. I mean, I think I made that point clear. But here's the major point anyway. I'm just trying to show that Naruto's investigating about Sasuke, and that is the major point. I really don't care about any other thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah, just
retarded. So we can
read
grant the
the
idea
scan.
that they have different semantics, and that's irrelevant, right? So
Wait,
I've
no,
given
no,
an
bro,
example
bro,
which
wait,
granted the
bro, wait. He just
proposition.
cut me off. Bro, can I finish? Okay, wait. I need a new mod.
Oh, your
Jordan,
monologue
can you
is not
mod?
finished? You're gonna run it for the point now
Wait, I
that you
talked for
brought up?
I talked for a quarter of the time this dude talks, and he calls it a monologue. Like
You know, it takes like a lot
reality,
of time for me to
reality check.
respond because they get a whole bunch of dog shit points, right?
Yeah, reality check. Anyway,
Reality check
yo,
is what you need right now, what you're getting
who
right
can
now.
mod that's not yeah, I guess biased.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
I don't know who that is. Here, I'll just give you some mod. Hold on. Let's see if I can- Flash, do you? Wait, you have admin. Yeah, you can mod.
Oh shit. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can buy, you know what I'm saying, on the dead homies.
Okay,
Who the
both of
fuck
y'all.
is
Yeah,
that?
both of
On,
y'all
bro.
can mod. Yeah, both of y'all are admins. You can mod. Anyway, but yeah. Here's the major point though. So I sent the scan. Naruto's explicitly asking. He said he had stuff to ask Itachi, which the questions I was talking about, and he goes on to have a full length conversation about Sasuke with Itachi for the next 3 pages. Whoever's doing that, enjoy this band. Hello.
Yo, that nigga's in the Arctic storm, bro. What the fuck was that?
He said, oh, he thought he's dead.
Anyway, yeah. So
What's
I'm
the
just
other point you're gonna
demonstrating
make?
he. Yeah, wait, yeah, real quick. I'm just demonstrating that he is investigating about Sasuke here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's the
relevant to
point.
the initial proposition. So can I respond now? Gotcha. So the first point you mentioned regarding you're just saying that they have different semantics. No one is disagreeing on this dumb fucking retard. So I can give like an example. So of course, if I say that Hermes is giving the example with infinity, but I'm gonna have to give it with someone else again because you're just not tracking what's going on in the conversation, right? But if I say Hermes is somewhere, and if I say Hermes is at his house, the semantics of those two set of the words somewhere and house is different. They have different semantics, but with respect to the context of talking about the same fucking thing, right? There are several cases in language in which you have two sentences, whereas the predicates of both sentences at face value have different semantics. However, the reference of the actual thing which is being talked about are identical, which makes the context identical, right? So in the case of Hermes, me saying Hermes is somewhere and me saying Hermes is at his house, even though the predicates or the words are somewhere and house are semantically not identical, the reference of those two words given the context are identical. And the same logic applies to the Itachi case, right? Even if location or asking where someone is and asking what's happened to somewhere or what's happened to someone are different on the basis of the definitions, the face value definitions, the reference and what is being talked about is still identical until the context remains the fucking same. Pretty obvious stuff. And it's consistent with the very fact that the anime consistently adapts to the manga and it consistently tries to portray, or consistently rather portrays, the actual context of what's being referenced in the manga. So it's consistent, and there we have inductive argument, inductive evidence favoring the proposition that it would be talking about the same thing, given the contextual synonymy between the manga and the anime. Each time the anime presents or portrays a non-filler aspect of the manga, for example, or of the series itself. So the inductive evidence favors the idea that it would most definitely be talking about the same fucking thing. And also it is the case that given the language example, given the Hermes instance, it would be talking about the same thing. Doesn't matter if they have different semantics, that's irrelevant. We're talking about whether or not they are talking about the same thing and the context would be related. To just the other parts you're talking about, oh, well, Naruto has a full conversation, that's irrelevant. The point you're supposed to be arguing here is that there's a consistent trend of Naruto going all out when he's talking, or rather he's retrieving information, or trying to retrieve information insofar as, or so when he's trying to retrieve Sasuke, or trying to gain information about Sasuke. And so that would be relevant to the actual argument at hand that you made previously.
Yeah. So to the first part, I've gone in depth. No, just saying it's inductively stronger. To say that their context gives the same the same semantics in that context is untrue. That's just not an argument. It's just not true. It's not inductively stronger. When you say that they do, oh, sorry, excuse me. There's a level of specification difference. It's not. It's not that. We're not talking about the difference between where and being inside your house. We're talking about the difference between where and an event, which are not a different. It's not a difference in specification. It's just different semantics. The context doesn't change that. So
Okay,
no, it doesn't fit. It's. I mean, I'm gonna leave it up to the judge. It genuinely just
I'm
isn't
going to
the same
respond to
thing.
this, by the
And
way, just to
he's
land the
gonna
last part.
wait. No, I'm gonna no no. I'm gonna finish. And I'm gonna leave that up to the judge. He can decide whether those semantics are identical and whether the anime is portraying the same thing as the manga. I think I've shown that. I kind of want to move off that. But the major thing with the second part of what you said is that, I mean, there's plenty of evidence that Naruto does go all out when he is trying to get information on Sasuke to the point where he overextends himself multiple times. In the first major example, he goes to fight the Sound Four, gets beat. His whole team gets beat up, and he almost dies and reaches new strength. I think that's the end of part one, and so that's going to be the first example. I can give you more, like when he goes on the bridge and has to use what is it, Four Tails to try and get information on Sasuke, and then when he goes to meet him for the first time in Shippuden, he gets one tapped and beat up. Um, Even though he's trying with all of his newer, stronger, improved jutsu, and so there's a consistency there that every time he tries to go after Sasuke, he tries his hardest and still even then almost dies. There's even more examples if you want to go later, but I mean you can contend those.
And so to
So yeah, go
respond to the
ahead.
first part, you made the baseless claim, which you're not going to prove, by the way, because you're running over to a different point for the judge to decide, that it is not true that there's a consistent trend as to why there's actually some contextual synonym between the anime and the manga, which is retarded. The whole purpose of the anime existence is to adapt to the manga, is to portray what the manga is basically portraying, right? Insofar as excluded the filler episodes of the anime, at insofar as could say at the 95% rate or something, there's a 95% accuracy between what's being portrayed in the anime in comparison to what's being portrayed in the manga, because the anime's whole purpose is to replicate the fucking manga. So of course there's going to be a consistent trend of the anime displaying information which is contextually identical to the manga. Think of, like, for example, now if you look at the anime where we look at the Sound 4 art, for example, and you look at the same thing in the manga, it's the same thing. The Chunin exams case scenario in the anime, when you see Naruto fight Neji and he talks about fate and all of that stuff, the same thing is in the anime. The same thing which is in the manga is in the anime right there. The context is identical. I gave a plethora of examples. The Pain instance, when Pain was talking to Naruto regarding his idea of peace and all of that. That thing which is in the anime is also in the fucking manga, and the context is identical. I could give at least 20 more cases of case scenarios in which the same thing which is in the anime, the same context being portrayed and replicated in the anime is also being shown in the manga, which the anime is trying to adapt. The point to make the dumb fucking claim that the anime does not consistently portray what's in the manga is absolutely retarded, and it just goes to demonstrate the dishonesty in this conversation. Now, to address the other part, the instances are given, even if I was to grant the idea that there's a consistent trend of Naruto doing this or going a lot in case scenarios where he's trying to retrieve Sasuke, that argument is so dogshit because of their fact that we have reasons to believe that that consistent trend would not apply here. So, for example, with any inductive argument, for example, if you give a specific factor which lies outside the consistent trend, which is not a part of the consistent trend, which would influence the probability of the conclusion negatively, then the inductive argument stands no longer. And the same thing applies here. The factor which would negatively impact the probability of conclusion here, would be the very facts that we see that Naruto is fighting someone who he does not perceive to be an enemy. Right? With the Sound 4 case scenario perceives those to be enemies, they do not have the same philosophical ideologies, with so far as being a ninja and so forth, but he knows Itachi is different. Especially when Obito, for example, came to meet Naruto, Kakashi, and Captain Yamato, for example, and educated them on Itachi's backstory, Itachi's lifestyle, Itachi's storyline, Itachi's whole narrative and character. Right? So he knows that insofar as philosophy is concerned and Itachi's backstory is concerned, they're not enemies. In fact, they're allies. They have the same fucking philosophy. They both aim towards protecting the villain. The case scenarios that you're given of Naruto trying to retrieve information where he's going all out is case scenarios of him fighting enemies in which he does not have the same character as those enemies. They do not have the same purpose. They do not have the same goal. They do not have the same character. They do not have the same intention. So that is the scenario. You can't apply the consistent friend because you're excluding and ignoring that factor, which radically changes the impact of your argument. I'm done talking.
Yeah, I would agree with you if you could demonstrate it's a special case where he doesn't perceive him as an enemy. Then maybe your argument follows. Can you actually demonstrate he doesn't perceive Itachi as an enemy? I agree they overarchingly didn't have the same goals in life, but Itachi here is actively trying to kill Naruto. Do you want me to prove that? This isn't Itachi by himself. This is Itachi being mind controlled. Huh?
You saying he's actively trying to kill Naruto in the scan that they were talking together?
I never said that. No, I said that he's trying to kill him in this fight.
You said he's actively trying to kill Naruto, so presumably throughout the fight he's trying to kill Naruto, given the context, right, of what you're saying.
Yeah, there are points where
I was going to change the claim.
Yeah, there are points where he tries to kill Naruto. There are attacks where he's trying to kill Naruto.
Okay, so what attacks are those?
Yeah, so look in the scan. He literally says, and Naruto tells
I'm not going to get off the point, by the way. I still have to respond to the first thing you said, by the way, but I'm just curious about this specific part.
Yeah, Naruto says explicitly, watch out for either of these jutsu. If you get caught in them, it's over, meaning you die.
That doesn't follow, retard. Someone can say it's over insofar as, yeah, so a fight can be over, not insofar as the opponent dies, but because they're unable to continue the fight any longer. So, for example, if Itachi puts someone in the Genjutsu, like, I'll give you an example, retard. So look at when Sasuke was at the five Kage Summit, for example, and he placed that one guy, I forgot this guy's name, he has blonde hair, he placed him under a Genjutsu. That guy was unable to fight anymore. In that particular case scenario, the fight is over for him, not because he's dead, but because he's no longer able to continuously fight at an effective rate. So the same logic applies here. Mm-hmm. Just because Naruto is saying, well, it would be over for these people, does not automatically imply that these characters would die as a result of these jutsus. It could imply that Itachi's Genjutsu, just like in the case of the Five Kage Summit, where Sasuke placed the one gun to the Genjutsu, would put them in a mental or psychological state, or they would be psychologically compromised, they cannot continue the fight any longer.
Wait, no. The reason the reason that's a terrible argument is because the Amaterasu, they have no counter against the Amaterasu. If it hits their body, it just burns you until you die. And then I can give you why the Tsukuyomi would one tap them too. Do you want me to continue, or do you want to respond to the Amaterasu point?
Well, that's assuming that it is the case that Naruto was talking about the Amaterasu, or was even aware of the Amaterasu.
He says it in the scan. He literally says, if you get hit by this attack, it's over.
Wait, hold on there a second, real quickly. Was Naruto aware of Amaterasu, just to be clear on this?
Yeah, he says it in the scan. If you get hit with Amaterasu,
let me just check the scans, because I'm not even in the scans channel right now, and I still have to respond to the other parts you mentioned regarding the inductive thing. There's one of the arguments I want to give in response to your argument, by the way. I'm not going to forget that, but I just want to check this part real quick. Hold on. Watch out, octopus. No, Naruto did not even know about the Amaterasu this time. What are you talking about?
He says, okay, I'm going to read it verbatim.
He has never observed the Amaterasu at that point of the scan. I remember the instance.
He said, watch out, Octopops. If you get hit with either Amaterasu or Tsukuyomi, it's over. Wait, the issue is, I never said he watched.
Okay, got you. Okay, got you. So he wasn't with the
information on it. He literally watched Sasuke. Well, sorry, he knows about Sasuke who used it.
Has he ever observed the Amaterasu before or no?
You can know. Well, I have to remember the Five Kage Summit. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Look, I'll
he has information. It doesn't matter.
I'll steal many points. It does matter, but I'll steal many because I don't think this helps your point anyways. Because of the fact, which is simply that, as you know, that there's not a necessary one-to-one relation or symmetric relation between trying to kill someone and force the person to go all out as a result of. So, for example, if someone is trying to kill you, for example, I'll give you an example. So, if a child goes up to you with a knife, trying to actually kill you, for example, just because the child is trying to kill you doesn't automatically imply that you're now put in a situation where you have to go all out like Mike Tyson in the fucking ring, right? It just makes you the case, or just puts you in the situation, rather, that you have to be on guard. You have to watch out for their attacks. You have to be very careful. You have to be very cautious, combatively. So, all Naruto is saying is that watch out, because if you get trapped into these attacks, it's over. It doesn't automatically mean that you have to be going all out or they're going all out.
But
Them being
if
them being combatively cautious as a result of the danger of the attack, the imminent danger of the attack, is not the same as them having to go all out as a result of being this combatively cautious. One more thing,
okay,
because this other point you made, which I've yet to address. The inductive argument, I can flip it back on you and say that generally speaking, when Naruto is interacting with someone who has the same philosophical ideologies as he does, from an ally perspective, he would not be going all out, and there'll be evidence as to why he would not be going all out against Itachi. That's it. Now I can respond.
yeah, no, he does that. Well, one, that's just called talk no jutsu. He does that against people that are actively against his ideology and trying to kill him. He does that with almost every enemy. It's not something specific to Itachi. Um, so in this scenario, it is still against his current ideology because he's actively trying to kill him who's protecting the village. Um, and so when you say you give the diss analogy of the child with the knife, that's true. If a child attacks you with a knife, then you may not have to go all out, right? But here the Amaterasu is this non-sentient agent, right? If it does tag you, that's it. You just die. He doesn't have a counter or a way to seal it, like Jiraiya did, right? It's literally just gonna burn him until he dies. So that is an indication he would need to go all out because it's a one shot. The same thing with the Tsukuyomi. If he gets tagged, he's not the only person there, right? So if he gets tagged and mind stunned or mind locked and tortured, Nagato will also just kill him. So, no, it
Yeah,
literally is a
so
one. It literally is a one shot condition. So that is
Yeah, so
reason to
just
believe he's
first to
going
address
all
a couple
out.
of things. We don't know the degree of knowledge that Naruto has with respect to the severity of the Amaterasu and whether or not it would kill the person.
What?
You could just have an
What?
idea of the fact that I'm still talking. So you could just have an idea of the fact that the Amaterasu, if you actually get caught in the Amaterasu, it's over so far as you cannot continue the fight, maybe because he has a conviction of how impactful or negative the fire actually is from the Amaterasu jutsu, but not actually believe or is even aware of the fact that the Amaterasu is this one-shot thing, which if it lands on you, you're going to definitely die. So that doesn't follow. You're making a non-sequitur arguments right there, and you're making a huge leap in logic on the first part. The second part is you mentioned the taught no jutsu point that's irrelevant. I agree that Naruto taught no jutsu's opponents. However, I'm telling you that the consistent trend
Bye.